Hey, what's going on, guys? Out here doing some drills on the range, and I thought I'd talk about dry firing because we had a video recently blow up where we had a lot of comments, one of which was snarky, but at the end of it, after we traded comments back and forth, actually became very constructive to the point where this gentleman wanted us to look at a video he posted on dry fire, some of the drills he's running, and wanted us to give our feedback on that. So that's what we're doing here today. We're gonna talk about dry fire, talk about ways that you can set yourself up for success, save you some money, but still improve on your skills and abilities when you get out on the live range. Let's get into it. All right, so let's watch some of this video. Okay, so a lot of things going on here, one of which this gentleman is drawing from a level 3 retention holster. I don't have a level 3 retention holster. I have just a level 1 with a thumb release here. I don't have the actual hood, but I do rock a hood on duty. So I'm very familiar with the Safariland holster. So my assumption is he is rocking a Safariland 6360, which is the holster I'm familiar with on duty. I've removed the hood on this one. Ordinarily, I would rock a hood on duty, obviously for increased weapon retention. But for the time being, I have a thumb release, and we can still talk about his draw. I think his draw is really good. He said he was a police officer for 2 years. I can see that. He's obviously put a lot of time and energy into the level 3 retention from Safariland. So the gun comes out super clean. I don't really have any critiques for that. I think he did a really good job with that draw. Let's keep going.
I'm very slow.
All right, so you see an expression on his face. It looks like he wanted to do a little bit better. Not a big deal. He's working some reloads. So just before we get weird, I have an empty gun, empty magazine, and I'm rocking some other empty magazines for the purposes of demonstration. So as he's doing his reloads, you see that he's kind of fumbling around with the gun a little bit. He's flicking the magazine out. I'm not a big fan of that, right? Gravity exists. Gravity is our friend. Why don't we use it? When I run empty, I like to just drop the magazine, rotate it into my workspace. I'm sure you've heard that term before, but working it in front of me so that I can maintain threat awareness as well as fixing this gun here and then presenting up. When we start to, and this will still probably come out, but when we start to like move the magazine around in the magwell, that becomes an issue. You know, it's not something that we want to practice. We don't want to and try to get it out, right? We want to just drop that magazine out, let gravity do its job. Keep the gun vertical, drop that magazine out, and then get a new magazine in there. All right, so this next little bit looks like he's working one-hand manipulation drills. Looks like he does a good job with that. If you notice the slide is locked to the rear, that's because he's using empty magazines. It's not gonna cycle, right? So to resolve this, you can buy a pack of dummy rounds and actually cycle the gun, which, you know, will obviously more accurately depict an actual reload, especially if we wanna do the one-handed stuff. But it looks like he does a pretty good job there. So for one-handed reloads, it's important, same thing. You know, we're not moving this magazine all around. We're just dropping it out. Great job placing it in the holster. Same hand, insert here, rack it. I have glass, you know, I got a red dot on here, but he did a good job using his irons to rack it off of the magazine, and then you see that it locks to the rear. Obviously we can still, like, if say we have a malfunction like that, we can still tap, rack forward, and then practice that way. Tap rack will solve a majority of our problems with our firearm. With us, you know, utilizing this one-handed weapon manipulation, I can rack on my knee, bringing it up, slamming it on my knee, and then sending that slide forward. So he continues to work the one-handed manipulation reloads. Again, drop that magazine out. Don't fiddle with it. There's no sense in that. Good draw. Good insertion. He's saying it's sloppy. He's being a little hard on himself, and then he's racking. So overall, I think he's being a little bit hard on himself, but at the same time, you know, we want to build proficiency in other areas before we even get to the more complicated stuff like one-handed reloads. So for me, one thing I would like to talk about, you know, when we're doing the one-handed reloads, that's all well and good. Say you want to do a reload and then actually rack the slide if that's your preferred method. For me, I think you should be good at both. I think you should build proficiency releasing that slide, and you should also build proficiency racking the slide, because at the end of the day, there are multiple uses for each of those. For me, it's a lot faster if I just lock back and then go to work, but there are times where the slide doesn't lock to the rear, especially if you are running your thumb too high up on the frame of the gun. I've been guilty of that before. It doesn't lock, but then I get a click. Well, now it's time for me to release here, insert, and then rack. And that might be my preferred method for that particular issue that I run into. Now, overall, I think he did a good job. I'm not one to just crap on anybody, especially with the age of the internet. Everybody wants to be a jerk and troll everybody. I think he does a good job. He obviously has some proficiency drawing his firearm and bringing it up. But that's what I would like for him to focus on, right? How many times, you can watch endless videos. How many times are people actually reloading in an engagement? There are plenty of examples of it. That's not my point. A majority of them are just going to be boom, 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 get out of there, boom, 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 threat goes down. Do we find ourselves reloading that often? Now, in the case of law enforcement, yeah, that might be the case. You know, you do see a lot of reloads because we don't know how many rounds we're shooting with that adrenaline dump. It's just mag dump, and then we reload. So there is a point for understanding reloads, but when we're dry firing, I'd rather get 100 reps of just perfect drawing up to my sights than I would to really harp on these advanced skills, and maybe I'm not there yet. Not saying this gentleman isn't, I'm just saying he's calling himself sloppy, and I would agree, because I think he's rushing. You know, we want to slow this stuff down. Two ways we can slow ourselves down and get better proficiency from dry fire and on the live range. Number one is isolation drills. Just like an NBA player, they don't just scrimmage every single day. No, they work on their passing, their layups, their threes, and so on, right? We're building those skills so that it can translate for game time. Same is true for us. So I think his draw looks really good, but to give you guys some examples, I come to my gun, I get a good grip of the gun, I reset. I'm isolating a part of the drill. I have a timer go off, beep. I get to my gun, I have a good grip, I'm assessing it, I'm talking myself through it, okay, that feels good. I might go too low and I don't get my hand high enough on that beaver tail, I might address that and say, all right, I need to reset. Boom, okay. Boom. I have a sense of urgency when I get to the gun, right? And then I can slow down, release, and present up. We can break this down further by saying, okay, now I'm gonna do steps 1 and 2. I'm gonna get my hand on the gun, I'm gonna release it, and the gun's gonna come out of the holster. So on and so forth, I go up. Then I might say I'm going to do steps 1, 2, and 3. Meaning I'm marrying up my offhand in this case. So I go 1, 2, 3, and stop. If I want to follow through and do all 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be pulling the trigger. Having a good sight picture, good presentation as I come up. That's one way we can get better. Another is what I like to call matrix drills. Matrix drills are just slowing everything down. This is something that I prefer, but I know others that prefer the isolation drills. For a matrix drill, I'm going to count out loud 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pick a cadence that I want to work at. 2 ways we can do this. I can either count faster to 5, or I can stop at 4 as I evolve through this drill and get faster. So what I mean by that is I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as I come up, I'm pulling the trigger. As I say 5 out loud, I'm pulling the trigger. That's when I should be presented out. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'll say I'm gonna fire at 4. Same cadence as before, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna shoot at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm on sights, I pick up my dot, and I'm accurate. Now, once we master some of these skills, just drawing, I think it's so important, especially for law enforcement and civilians. We can't be so quick to pull our guns out in this society, right? We gotta be super proficient. And with proficiency comes confidence. If I'm confident in my ability to get the gun out of the holster, then I don't feel the need to preemptively pull it out when an altercation occurs, right? When I have the need for deadly force, that's when that gun comes up and I present out, okay? So that is the one thing I'd like this gentleman to continue to work on. He has a really good draw, but those are the things that are more realistic. The reloads, we like to implement those in there, but let's get to that point before we just start doing all these you know, random stuff and, you know, one-handed reloads and all that. I just think it's too much. If I want to get to that point, continue to do the dry fire like you're doing, but slow it down. So for the dry fire for reloading, for instance, I can do the same thing. I can do the matrix drill, or I can do an isolation drill. So I can say to myself, I'm going to do a matrix drill. I'm going to throw a cadence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's purposely going to slow myself down. It's going to slow my brain down where I want to go fast and I want to get this gun out and I'm in an engagement and I'm training like I fight, right? You hear that term all the time. But no, I want to take the time to develop the skills and ability. Like I mentioned earlier, my example with an NBA player, professional athlete, they isolate this stuff and they get really good at it. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to do my reload. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got the reload in, and then I can follow through just like that, purposely slowing myself down. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. This gentleman was brave enough to share a video that he thought was sloppy because he says it 100 times in the video, but he still shared it knowing there was going to be criticism involved. I want this to be constructive criticism because that's what we're all about at Forged Frontier. So many times you see these trolls on the internet, they just want to bash, 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 bash. We're about building people up, cultivating confidence, and training for reality. That is our motto at Forged Frontier. So if you enjoyed what you saw today, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and follow us for more content. Thank you so much, guys. We will see you on the next one. Also, if you're curious what belt I'm rocking, this is the HRT ARC belt. The best belt on the market, bias included, because we sell it at our website at forgedfrontier.com. Make sure you go to forgedfrontier.com, check out our accessory page where we have this belt available for you today. We'll see you.